Now in this video I'm going to show you how to make your own mock-ups. There are plenty of websites, of course, that will do mock-ups for you, but then there's always a couple of issues. One is there's a free version and a paid version of most of these websites, and quite often the image you want or the images you want, if you want more than one, is in the paid version, so obviously you have to fork out money. And the other thing is trying to find the image you want. There's lots of images there, they have lots of sort of backgrounds, etc. But quite often it's not quite what you want. So it's useful to do your own picture and create your own mock-ups. And you can do this in Photoshop. Here I've downloaded some images from Unsplash. And you can do this in Illustrator, which I'll do in another video. So I've downloaded some other images, bottles from Unsplash. And you can do this in something like Dimension as well, and so on and so forth. And what I've done here is I've downloaded some images of brick walls. So this is a flat orthogonal view, so straightforward. Then we've got some walls in perspective, and we have curve walls, just to see what we can do. And the quickest way is just drag them all, select them, drag them all to Photoshop. Give it a few seconds. And now we have each one opened up in Photoshop. Now, normally, let's go to the Move tool. Normally, I would tell you to immediately save as a Photoshop document, because we'll be dealing with layers, but I won't bother for the moment. So what we have to do first is we need something to that's going to go on the wall. And so I'll just do some text. So click on the T tool, click somewhere, and I need it nice and large. Let's try 300 point. I need it bigger. So I'm just holding the Command key down or Control key on Windows just to resize it. And I'll just type in my name. Now, when you're doing something like this, try and avoid black or white. Choose a color. So I'll make something like a blue, because the techniques I choose or I use in this particular case, there are two varieties. One is sizing, and the other is to make it merge into the background, and that quite often depends on the color. So I'll do OK. And we'll click on the Move tool and let's position it somewhere, and I'll make it even bigger, Command or Control T, and I'm not going to worry about the proportions. Here we go. Now, if we look on the right hand side, we can see under the layers, I've got a text layer and my background. And we're on the text layer, it's highlighted. So the first thing we can do is we can change the opacity to sort of make it more sort of fade in. Let's set that back to 100%. But another very useful technique is just to change the blend mode. And the blend mode is this little drop down here at the top of the layers panel. So I'll click on that. And if I go down, and I don't know if you can see, but when I change it, it merges, according to a mathematical calculation, the text layer, and in this case, the brick layer. So it makes it look like it belongs. So I'll choose overlay, but there are many you can do. All I'm doing is rolling over, and you can see which ones do you like. I can just change the hue. Actually, the hue might be nice. And if you look at it, I'll click on hue. If you look at it, where the mortar is, the sort of paint completely disappears. Well, not quite, maybe slightly there. But when I move this around, you see it works quite well. And if I do a fade as well, so I can make it look much nicer as though it were actually painted on. Sometimes what I also do to make it pop a little bit, I'll go to the effects at the bottom, and I'll do something. Let's do a drop shadow. Let's have a look what we got. And can you see it gives it a little pop, which obviously is not painted, but if not a drop shadow, then we can do maybe, let's do an outer glow, something like that. And initially I will change the color to something quite vile, and I'll change the blend mode to normal, and let's increase the size. There you go. So you can see we've got a stroke. I wanted to see the stroke, and so let's change to something a bit better, a darker blue. There you go, something like that. And again, we can do a blend mode here. Maybe darken, perhaps. Darken, multiply, color burn, linear burn. These 5 give you the darker of the two. So the text overlaying the brick, whichever pixel is darker, will show. So I can choose multiply. That's another way. These are just different ways of doing the same thing. So I'll choose darken and I'll do OK. And there we have something that looks quite nice. And I can always add an effect. At the bottom, I'll go to the yin yang button. I can do brightness, contrast. Let's go to hue, saturation. And here you go. And if I want to, I can muck around with the hue. Now, if you notice, it's changing the hue of everything, which I don't want. So I only want to do it on the T tool. So I'll hold down Option or Alt, click between the two layers. And now the color change is only working on the text layer. So if I move my hue around, you can see it changes to whatever I want. And look at the bottom, you can see the before and the after. Or I can click on colorize, and there we go. I can colorize it to a particular shade if I want. And I can increase the saturation, increase or decrease the brightness depending on what I'm doing. And I can go back to the text layer, increase the opacity back to 100% so I can see what's going on. And then I can always reduce it later. And doing it this way means, and if I save it as a Photoshop document, means I can change this at any time because I can hide or show whatever I want. I can change the opacity. This is all non-destructive. And I can, if I want to change the glow, I can double click on that, change it or choose something else, cancel, and I can hide the glow or show the glow. Works very, very well. So let's see about doing that to one of the other images, not in perspective yet. Which one? Here we go. So if you look at this brick wall, the bricks and the mortar are a lot more pronounced. So let's click on the T tool, click somewhere, type in my name again. Okay. And I'll hold the Command or Control key down. Let's make it nice and big. You can always resize it afterwards. It's not a problem. Click on the Move tool. Again, we can change the blend mode. Let's go to Overlay again. You see, depending on the colors, we get a different result. I'll go to Hue. There we go. And we see we get quite a nice structure. Let's go to the effect and let's go to the outer glow again. And there we go. So it's a dark blue again, which is from before. And I can increase the size. I can increase the spread as well. Opacity, I can make darker or lighter. I can add some noise if I want. So it's a bit more particulate. That might be a bit difficult to see. If I increase the opacity, increase the noise, you see it's a lot more sort of dotted, as it were. And if I reduce that, it's a lot more sharper, and I'll reduce the opacity and do OK. And again, I'll go to the yin yang button, hue saturation, click on colorize, change it to I want, hold Alt or Option, click between the two layers I want to affect, bang, and then I can play around with the hue, the saturation, and the lightness, and it works very, very well. So the question comes now, and that's fine, and I'll leave this one till last. What about when we've got something in perspective? Well, that means we need another step. So I'll click on the T tool, click somewhere, type in what I want. Let's click in there. I don't need the options. Hold down Command or Control, make it nice and big. There we go, something like that. Again, you can change the colors, of course. Try and avoid black or white, because black or white either gives you something or nothing. It's like either yes or no. So give it a color. I'll click on the move tool. So before I can do, well, not before I can, because I can do it at any time, but before I do like the opacity, the color change, etc., the blend mode, I need to distort it. I need it to fit in perspective. So one way to do this is I can do Command T, hold down Command or Control, go to a corner, and I can manually change this to fit. And if you notice, because this is a brick wall, I'm using the lines of the bricks to match up, and I need to zoom out a bit to match up my text. And it's a little bit tricky. It's not perfect by any means, but let's try something like that. And you see this one has gone as well. So this is the problem. Let's try, will the control? No. Alt. No. So as you can see, I have a problem with this. It doesn't work so well because I'm doing like sort of one corner at a time. And as soon as I do the other, it kicks the other one out, which is not what I want. Let's see what else we can do. I'll just do return, edit menu, and let's try perspective warp. Yes, it's going to rasterize it, unfortunately, so it's no longer text. And let's have a look. I'll go click, and I get like a warping structure. So here, this I can change. And I'm looking for the lines to line up horizontally and vertically, although they're in perspective, of course. So let's look out. Let's do this, etc. Okay. Press return. And I can now drag the letters. It's a bit weird doing it this way, as you can see. But let's see what we can do. So it sort of works there. It sort of works. Press return. Thank you very much. So it's got it in perspective. And then I can click on the blend mode like we did before. Let's do hue. We can add glow again, or anything else we want at the end of the day. Sorry, not a glow. We want our hue saturation. Colorize it. Change it. And Alt or Option between the two. There we go. And then go to the FX and do our outer glow. Fine. And I've got it on the wrong layer. So let's click on that. FX and outer glow. And there we go. We got the outer glow. Thank you very much. And I can reduce this to fade it out, and so on and so forth. And that actually works quite well. There's another way to do this, and let's try on this one. This is a very severe perspective. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to type my name in like I did before. And I'll click on the move tool, Command T or Control T, stretch it out nice and big. Now I'm going to hide this, and I'm going to do something else. I'm going to use a different command. I'm going to go up to the filter menu. Oh, I need to do return. Let's check, because I was still resizing. Yeah, that's fine. Let's go up to the filter menu, and let's do it on the background. There is, under the filter menu, a vanishing point command. Now, if I click on vanishing point, it allows me to draw the perspective grid, sort of like we did before. So I'm going to click, move down here, click. And again, I'm doing this approximately. I'm using the bricks in the brick wall. And I need to try and now let's zoom out, Command minus. so I can see what's going on. Now it's a bit difficult to see, but if your grid is red, it means Photoshop, so can you see it's red or yellow, it can't figure out what's going on. So let's try and move things around to get it. See, there it's gone blue. So I'm using something to get it approximately. This is the perspective grid. And what this means is Photoshop understands the perspective now. And you can see the rectangles there. Okay, I'll do okay. This is saved with the file. I will select my text layer, make it visible, and press M for marquee, click and drag around the text, copy, Command or Control C, and I'm on the wrong layer. So let's go back to the Alex layer, Command or Control C, boom, done, Command or Control D to drop the selection, hide the layer. I'm going to do a new blank layer because that's where I want to put things in. And I want to make sure I'm on the Move tool. So I've still copied my text and I'm going to go back up to Filter and Vanishing Point. And it's remembered this grid. And all I have to do is paste, Command or Control V. There you go. Now click and drag and Photoshop drops it into the perspective beautifully. It's a bit large compared to the actual grid I put in, but I can resize it. Let's have a look. Come on. No, I should be able to resize it. That's that. That's the grid, which I don't want to change. Right, let's undo that. I should have done it maybe first. So let's go in, drag it down. Oh, it's selecting the grid, unfortunately. Right, let's do a cancel. Let's try again. It's easy enough. Filter, Vanishing Point. It's still remembered from my last copy. Drag it down. There we go. And I think what I'll do is I'll do Command T, Control T again. That's what I should have done before. There you go. Now I've got my little anchor point. Click and drag. I can hold the Shift key down or not if I want to, but I'm not going to bother. Move it around. And there we go. And I'll do OK. And there we have my perspective. I've still got my original text layer. I've hidden it in case I want to go back to it because this layer I've put in perspective is no longer text. It's just pixels. So again, let's change the blend mode. Go down to hue. I can muck around with opacity if I want. Let's go to effect. Let's do outer glow again. And I'll leave the settings, but I can always change them. And let's add our hue saturation, colorize, alter option between the two layers, muck around with whatever hue we want, muck around with the saturation, muck around with the lightness, and voila, and it works quite well. We've got our text that goes according to the perspective of the wall. The only one left to try this is on this one. And this one is a lot more difficult because it's curved. But there's something we may be able to do. So let's click on the T tool, click somewhere. Again, put our text, Command or Control, make it nice and large. Click on the Move tool. And I can, of course, do Command or Control T again, and I can rotate it a bit to follow the text. It's not the text, the lines of the brickwork, for example. But the issue is going to be the curves. Let's put it over here, actually. I'll just press return. So what can we do? The issue is not so much doing the blending and everything else like that, is how do we curve it around? Well, there's a possibility. So Command or Control T again. I'm not going to resize it. But up at the top here, we have a warp tool. And if I click on that, this allows me to warp the text. And I can click and drag, and you can see it goes really weird. And let's have a look. No, let's put it in. I don't want to go that much. Let's go looking at a corner. Let's press escape. That's not what I wanted. Command or Control T. Warp. Yes, it doesn't do it like it used to. I think Photoshop has changed, because fine, I can warp it, but that's not how I want to warp. There used to be a proper warp tool. Let's see if we can find it. I don't want to bend. See, this is bending the other way, which is not quite what I want. Okay, let's go up to Edit, Transform. You could do possibly Puppet Warp. Yes, they've changed it, unfortunately. But let's go to Puppet Warp. It'll rasterize it. So you could possibly, you can put a pin in like this, and then you can drag the pins. So maybe something like that might work, which is actually quite useful for certain things, not so much for this. So it hasn't worked so great this second way, Command or Control T, because Photoshop has changed it. And let's have a look and see. I'm not worried about the grid. See, these are the types of warp you can do. Maybe, what's a cylinder like? Well, maybe like that, because you can see the curved wall is, of course, cylindrical-ish. And so maybe that might work for this particular example. So that's a possibility as well. It's not great, and I'll just press return, but it's a possibility, and you can apply the effects and do things like that. And you can distort it again, of course, and play around with it. Command or Control T, hold down Command or Control, and you can manually adjust it, as you can see here. So there's a few ways of doing this. But that is how you can create your own mock-ups within Photoshop without having to pay for anything, or without having to spend hours trying to find a picture on the websites which only have their own picture. And you can see on most things it works quite well.